Yo, welcome to another episode of the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. I'm your host and the man behind the mic, K Sap. And today, man, we got a real interesting show for you guys. But when you come across the video, make sure you share it out. Make sure you give it a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you comment. Make sure you turn your post notifications on so you know every time Simply Ball Dropping drops another hot banger. And if your first time coming across this video or this channel, please subscribe to the channel. Um, on this channel, we cover sports, hot topics, roundtable talk, and the marriage chronicles. I see everybody in the comment section. Hashtag salute. And you know what my mantra is? Tell a friend to tell a friend. It might not be for you. It might be for them. Let's get right off into it. Well, y'all know in the recent days, ESPN has came out with their top 100 players in the NBA going into the 23-24 season. And a lot of people took exception to their list. A lot of people have came on their podcasts, on their platforms, and have discussed this list on the player rankings and things like that. And a lot of people have been in an uproar, especially with where they have ranked Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook was ranked number 94 and had all these other guys ahead of him. Some of the guys that was ahead of him haven't played a minute in the NBA so far, and they're ranked ahead of Russell Westbrook. And a lot of people have took exception to where Ja Morant fell on the list pertaining to where he was on the list last year coming into the season. Now, you know, Ja Morant has been, in the news for his off-court issues, gun-related issues and things like that, been suspended, and now he's suspended for the first 25 games of the season. But his rankings have fell. And a lot of people saying, man, that's BS. How his rankings going to fall? That has nothing to do with his play on the court. That's off the court issues. And he dropped all the way down to number 30, I think 35 or 37. But the player listing has a lot of people in an uproar. So let's take a look at some of the list of what these players are ranked, and I'm going to read them off. Now, they have Russell Westbrook, man, at, ranked number 94. And you got guys like Kevon Looney and, Kyle Kuzma, Buddy Hield, Robert Williams III, John Collins, Josh Hart, Emmanuel Quigley, Mike Conley in front of him. Clint Capella, Tobias Harris, Scoot Henderson. Scoot Henderson hasn't even played a minute on the NBA court besides preseason. And then you get down, as you get closer, they have Ja Morant, number 35. Then you have Kyrie Irving, 34. And then you got likes of people like Paolo Banchero, 30, ahead of Kyrie Irving and Ja Morant. So a lot of people have took exception to that, and they voiced their displeasure. A lot of people have been talking about it on their podcast. The media outlet has been talking about it. But the crazy thing about it is one particular ESPN employee by the name of JJ Reddick has basically exposed the ESPN for their trolling antics. JJ Reddick recently did a podcast, and he had some things that he wanted to say about the top 100 list. And basically in his audio, he was like, ESPN is trolling, getting people in an uproar. If you listen to JJ Reddick's podcast in its entirety, he touched on a lot of things about ESPN. They're doing this for clicks and views, for revenue and things like that. And he's an employee with ESPN. Like I've been telling you guys, over the recent days and the recent weeks, ESPN has been trolling Colorado and Deion Sanders. And like I said, I've never seen it. Whoever's controlling their social media site, they're constantly trolling Deion Sanders and the Colorado Buffaloes. So basically, JJ Reddick is saying what I've been saying. I know Ticket TV's been saying that. There's a lot of other YouTube sports media personnel that has been saying that. I think Dreamers Pro touched on it, and JJ Reddick has exposed it. JJ Reddick on his podcast, when he was talking talking to some of his guests on his podcast, he basically wanted to tell you guys, like, it's not a list that they're actually putting out. It's a criteria that they're doing by asking these people questions. Would you like to have this guy? Or would you like to have this guy? It's basically, you know how like Family Feud, you play top surveys, top 100 questions asked. This is how people felt, and this is what the answers would be. So basically, this is what JJ Reddick is basically saying is they're putting guys up against guys. Who would you like to have, this guy or this guy? And if it takes that guy, it spits the other guy out to an algorithm, and he goes back in the jar to put up against another player. So the format, the way they're doing it, is not people listing these players. It's like it's being computer generated. And like I said, analytics have taken over the world of sports. So in its totality is what ESPN is doing is put a list out there and got everybody in an uproar, got everybody talking about it, screaming to the top of their lungs. If you looked at Gil's Arena podcast and Kenyon Martin, oh, they was livid. They was livid on the player ranking. Basically, when it came down to Ja Morant, talking about how he slipped from number 9 all the way down to number 35 in this year's ranking, and it has nothing to do with his play. It has everything to do with his off-court issue. So let's take a listen to what JJ Reddick had to say on his podcast, and when we listen to it, we'll come back and we'll finish up the show.
Oh, no.
The top 100. What people need to understand about the top 100 is that several years ago, they changed how they did the ranking. There's an expert panel. I'm using air quotes here. An expert panel of 150 basketball people that are asked to rank this top 100. And years ago, they would simply rank the players. Here's my list. Here's my 100 players they're in the top 100, right? Several years ago, they use this format now where it's who would you rather have for this upcoming season, player A or player B? And then there's an algorithm, and then it spits out a new thing. Here, would you rather have this player or this player? And so It's not an actual ranking. It's not an actual list. It is the difference between the 93rd player and the 50. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. No one's sitting there and saying, oh, there's 40 better players than Russell Westbrook between 93 and 50. No, nobody listed the players. They're simply asked, who would you rather have this upcoming season, Jordan Clarkson or Russell Westbrook? And 75 people say, I'd rather have Russell Westbrook. Okay, well, he gets spit out to the next algorithm. Who would you have, Russell Westbrook or player B? That's how it works. It's not a listing. But also, of these 150 people who claim to be basketball experts, how is Derek White not in the top 100? How is that possible? He's a top 50 player. What playoff games were you watching last year? Oh, my gosh.
Oh, good.
So there you have it. So you heard what JJ Reddick said. Basically, JJ Reddick is an employee of ESPN. So with his little shocking audio, you know, basically, if you go, like I said, if you go listen to JJ Reddick's podcast in its entirety, he exposed ESPN in a sense where ESPN has been trolling. And ESPN put this list out to troll everybody and to get everybody in an uproar. And like I've said in the past, they've been trolling Colorado hard. You know, I saw something where on their YouTube channel, ESPN, they had Colorado is dead with the coffin, basically trolling because they know Colorado is headline news. And like JJ Reddick said, if you listen to his podcast in its entirety, he basically said ESPN is doing it for clicks and views and for revenue. I don't know how true that is, but he's an ESPN employee. How can you rebuke that? So, you know, you heard it from JJ Reddick himself, and, you know, he works with ESPN. So he's basically saying ESPN is trolling. So you guys, let me know how y'all feel about that in the comment section. Keep supporting the channel. Keep giving the videos likes, thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel. And like I said, if you come across this channel for the first time, please subscribe and turn on your bell notifications. Well, that's going to wrap up another episode of the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. I'm your host and the man behind the mic, K-Sap, and we're going to catch you on the next one. Deuces.
Thanks for listening to the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. Be sure to subscribe, like, and share on all major platforms.
Another one.